but I'm going to keep on going. Okay, welcome back. We will go ahead and do it. In the UBD document, you're going to be doing the 3 different stages. Week 2, you're doing stage 1. I think I don't have it broken out there. Week 4, you're doing stage 2, and week 6, you're doing stage 3. So the assignment for week 7 requires you to take the UBD Word document for stage 1 and use Camtasia to do that video that it looks like somebody's looking over your shoulder and you are describing it. So they're saying to you, hey, can you tell me about UBD stage 1 template? And you are describing it to them. You can use a blank UBD template or you can include your information. Either one works. So that's what the assignments, and it's going to look something like this, where it's going to be in your, eventually you will post it into your electronic portfolio, where you'll start and you'll say UBD stage 1 overview, and you'll have text where you'll provide a text written overview, and then you're going to do a UBD stage 1 preview demonstration, and that's what you're going to be using Camtasia for, where you actually post the YouTube video, and that's what I'll demonstrate there. So I'm going to recommend you start working on it now, just the video portion of it, because believe me, this can be very, very time consuming. You can go to Camtasia and there's tons of tutorials, but this should help you. So let's go ahead and do the demonstration now, and I am still recording and I still do audio. I'm just going to verify that. All right, give me a minute to set up. Bear with me. I'm going to share my application. And in a minute, we should be, yep, I've got it over there. And I'm first going to pull up my UBD document. And this is what you will be doing a video to share. And you'll be, imagine somebody's looking over your shoulder and you've got the UBD template open. And again, a reminder, you're telling them about UBD stage 1. You are not telling them about your particular unit. So you would start out at this page and tell them what UBD is probably, and what's unique about stage 1, and this is where you identify the results and all the information that you learned from your textbook. And then you're going to come to this portion of UBD, and you're going to be telling them in this portion of the stage 1, you're going to just get information about the course and all that kind of stuff. So you're using Camtasia to share information about UBD stage 1, not about your course. So how do you do that? I'm going to go ahead and launch Camtasia now. And I've got Camtasia 2019, and older versions of Camtasia work very similar, so that should not be an issue. We do have Camtasia loaded on many of the computers in the library in the stack, so heaven forbid you don't have it, you can go there and create your videos, and I do believe they have 2019 loaded, so it should be similar. So when it comes up, you're going to say New Project, and I'm going to move this over to the screen so that you can see it. And a couple of things you're going to do. First thing is you want to save your project. So you're going to File, Save As, and you're going to come up and create a folder to put everything together. And for now, I'm just going to put everything in my documents. Right-click and say New Folder, Camtasia Demo. Oh, I already have one named that. Thursday Demo. Okay, so it's going to, everything's going in that folder, and then it's going to have an extension of TSCPROJ, and we talked a little bit about this in EDT 8110. That stands for TechSmith Camtasia Project. You want to give it a name, so I'm going to call this UBD Stage 1 Demo. And I still like to call, let myself know it is a project. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK there, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Now, this is different than how we used Camtasia in EDT 8110. On that one, we imported the PowerPoint slides. We are not doing that in this class. We're using Camtasia in the way that it actually was originally designed to use. It's actually quite powerful. It's called doing a screenshot, and this is amazing. If you ever want to create training videos for folks to learn how to do websites or software programs, it's incredibly powerful. So in this case, we're going to do a demonstration to somebody on UBD Stage 1. So it's quite simple. We'll go ahead in the upper left-hand corner and click on Record, and you get this option that comes up, and here's some things that you need to do. We do not want to do the full screen, because if we do the full screen, you can probably barely see this, but it's got green dots that have all this wasted space on the side, and it doesn't make it as easy to record. So that is not what we want to do. We're going to come back, and we're going to change it from full screen to custom. And under custom, I'm going to go down and I'm going to say select area to record. And in this case, we want to identify just the Word document, so it makes it so much focused on what you want the folks to use. Now in this case, I want the camera turned, I want it turned off, and I want the audio on. You can see it's working, and I'm ready to start, and I'm going to go ahead and click on record. It counts down, and it's now recording. Now, you don't want to have a recording with this little black thing in it, so you're going to need to cut out the first part of this video, and that's the editing part, and I'll show you how to do that. Now the best way to do this is I'm going to minimize this so it doesn't show up. And then how do we know where to cut? A good way to do this is when you're editing it, I will be quiet for 10 seconds, and then when you look at the information on your timeline, you can see that there's a 10-second period where there's complete silence, and then you start your official video. That's a good way to do that. So I'll be silent for 10 seconds, and then I'll start the recording. Okay, so hey, welcome to my demonstration of Understanding by Design, and I want to show you. You had asked to see a little bit about Understanding by Design, Stage 1. So first, let me tell you a little bit about Understanding by Design. So take a few minutes and describe to the person what UBD is all about, and they're looking at the screen, and say, what I'm going to show you today is about Stage 1, and tell them a little bit about Stage 1. Some of that information you got from the textbook, and then you can say, all right, now let me show you a little bit more about the template, and then scroll down, and you want to get the first page showing up. So then you want to stop, and you don't want to, again, talk about your particular unit. You want to talk about this general process of UBD Stage 1, and say, now in the first portion of UBD Stage 1, we just want to identify the course information. So, you're not going to spend a lot of time on this. You're going to, you just share the course information, a little bit about the unit, and a little bit about the course design, and then move on. So next in UBD Stage 1, we're going to, and then you begin to describe each and every one of these sections. Again, about Stage 1 UBD, not about your particular unit. So, you tell them to do a unit summary. Now, when you get to this point where you start talking about professional organizations for content, they don't know what you're talking about. So you're going to have to describe to them, kind of what we talked about today. What's the reason for a professional organization, and why do we have to have it? And then when you come down to the section about standards and or competencies, they may not have a clue as to what you're talking about. So you're going to want to explain to them why standards or competencies are important, and include it. And then, so, that's a good opportunity for you to spend some time explaining. And then down here at the bottom, where it's the section about transfer. And again, they're not going to have a clue about what transfer is all about. You're going to want to describe to them about what transfer is, and then you can give them a little bit of information about in our, template here, we identify the code. We like to have the competency codes here, and what the transfer is over there. And then you're going to go to the third page, and you're going to talk to them about meaning making. You spend a few minutes talking about general, what the section's about, and then what the difference between essential questions and understandings. And be sure to talk to them about, this is where we're going to list what our essential questions are, but to the right, we're going to make a connection or alignment with our competencies codes that came from the previous class. And you can see that the competency codes follow through in each and every section, so that we know we're aligning, we know we're taking care of them. And then talk to them about understandings. And then the last thing you're going to talk to them about is this idea of acquisition, and explain to them what acquisition is, explain to them what knowledge is, what skills are, and again, show them where you continue to include the competency codes, so that is reflected throughout the entire document. So we've done stage one, we're done with stage one, and we're done with our recording. So I will go ahead and stop it right now. So give me a minute to do that. We pull it up. It's the orange one, and we click on stop. And then what happens is Camtasia creates that video, and it's going to pull. It takes just a second to begin to pull it together. And there we've got the timeline. You can hear this is our audio. This is our video. The video would be showing the screen. And so we have a good part of your assignment is done. But remember, we're trying to begin to use more skills with Camtasia, and so you are required to do some additional functions. That was a screenshot, but there's some additional functions that you need to do this time. So bear with me. I'm peeking at my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. We did, okay, now let's do some simple editing. Remember when I started the video, I had that little screen that was there that I didn't want to show, and so you would not want that to show in your final project. So down here at the timeline, if I hit play, it's going to show, it's going to come up. You don't want that. So we want to, do you see where in the narration, this, you can see right down here where I was silent for 10 seconds. So we can actually make this, excuse me, we can make the timeline a little bigger with this little plus, so that it's easier for us to see. And we can take the playhead and move it over here right before, and I can click here, split the clip. I can, on the first one, I don't think that's split. Let me do it one more time. There we go. I can click here and I can delete that, and I can click here and I can delete it. And then I can just move these over so that all of that wasted in the beginning is not there. So that's wonderful, where we took care of that. And then we take the play head back to the beginning, and we can, it's not there. And so then you're welcoming them. And the next thing I wanted to show you is you're required to do some call outs. So it's called scrubbing the video. I'm going to scrub the video until I get to this portion where I'm beginning to talk about, and I'm going to scroll over a bit. You're beginning to talk about standards or competent or professional organizations. There's a lot of ways you can highlight. So maybe you want to talk about this idea that they're going to have the codes here, or they're going to, put the competency codes over here. So one way you might be able to do that is over here. If you click on annotations on the left, you have lots of options here. You can do call outs, you can do arrows, you can do shapes, you can do blurring, you can do sketch motions, and you can do keystrokes. So I'll show you a few. I'm going to do the callouts, a really commonly tool are these arrows. So you just drag it over. It's super simple. And you, if you want it pointing to the left, you just, I'm going to make this a little smaller. You click right here and you can just click it the other way. That took me a minute to figure out. To do that again, let me do that again. So I'm going to change competencies here. Oh, code. Let's say you're going to do that. So you can make it smaller so that it's, it's still, and you can move it around. So if you're pointing there, maybe you're pointing here, but maybe you want to point over here on the right. So you click on the arrow itself, and let me click again. In the middle here, it's that arrow that turns into the green, and you see how the mouse turns into a circle. It's very little. You can, when that happens, you can flip it over and then point it in the opposite direction, and the text changes to the right direction. It's pretty cool. It's amazing. And if you don't like that color, just click on the shape or the call out, and over here on the right you have properties. So if I want to change, I click right there on the call out itself, I can change the color to maybe I like this green. I can go and change the outline from white to this gray, and I can make the thickness of that a little thicker if I want, or keep it sort of thin. I can change the text to a different type style if I want, or come back to that. You can make the size different, you can make the alignment left, you can make the alignment right. I'm going to keep it in the middle. What I really like here is under the H spacing, you can change it to fill more, or you can vertical spacing as the words, how much space you have between them. And let's see, I like that pretty well, and it's facing in the right direction. So those are call outs. Under callouts, you have all of these different options. So, there's some thought bubbles, but underneath, besides basic, there's different ones under bold, and there's different ones under urban. So, check all those out. I'll stick with basic. Another option are shapes. Now, shapes can be used. A big reason for shapes is, you can put a shape in there, you can put text on it, so if you just want to highlight something. Another big reason is, let's say you want to block something out to focus on a different area. So if I don't want this unit summary to be showing, I can just pick it, you drag it over, and I can use it as a block. Just think of it as blocking out. And then all of that other stuff can be blocked out, and the shape can be used to, there's a white shape, there's a black shape, or you can click on it and you can change the color of the shape if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and delete, and you see it's added down here to the timeline when I do it. Another option to block things out is this blur and highlight tool. So I use this a lot. If there's a section, you want them to know there's information behind it, but you don't want it to be showing. Let's say there's a student's user number on, and that's private information, and you need to block that out. Well, I can take this blur tool over here, and so that there's information, you're just not able to see it. And so it just does it a little blur. And you can change the intensity to less or more. So that's blur. Another way to blur it out is you can do a highlight. So let's say you actually want to highlight a section. I think that's difficult to see, but I've seen students use that pretty effectively. So just different ways that you can do that. I really like this sketch tool, but it causes a lot of questions. If you want to highlight a certain area, this sketch tool, you can bring it over and you size it around the section you want to highlight, but you can't see it. So unfortunately, the only way that the sketch tool shows is in the preview. I'm not sure why they do that. I think that's kind of odd. So when I hit preview here, you'll see in a minute that it's like it circles it. So that's the sketch tool, and that's how it works. It looks like it's drawing. So let me peek at my notes. I've got shapes, I've got annotations, I've got blur and highlight, I've got the sketch. Okay, now let me show you zoom and pan. Zoom and pan is, I always have trouble with zoom and pan. Every version that comes out with Camtasia gets a little bit better. This is better than the last version, but I still have trouble. So let me show you how I do zoom and pan. Um, I'm telling you that some people probably do it better than me, but this is just how I do it. I do zoom and pan under annotations. And if you think about zoom and pan, zoom means you can take that piece of paper and zoom in closer. So if you want to bring the audience in to take a closer look, so you think about you're zooming them in. Pan means you're actually moving it to a more particular part of the form. So that's zoom and pan. And then of course you have to zoom back out again. So we're going to do this on 3 different steps. So to do it, I'm going to click on animations, and I'm going to select scale up, and you come down and you put it on the timeline, the video portion that you want to do, because it actually applies it to the timeline. And you can actually make it go smaller, longer. And over here in the properties, I'm going to change it from the default, which is 125, and zoom in a little bit closer to 200. So if I come back and preview this and show it to you, you're going to see that piece of paper, and it's going to zoom in 200%. So let me go ahead and show that to you. Okay, so so it zoomed in. Now, the trick of zoom and pan is it is very dependent on where you have the playhead. So if you can see the playhead, I'm about to do another pan, and so it needs to be separate and away from where you had the zoom, or it gets mucked up and messed up. So I'm going to move the playhead over, because you can always move the pan arrow over if you want, but they cannot be on top of each other. So to do this, I now want it to pan over to the left, and so I'm going to do a custom pan, and I will add it here, and I'm going to make it a little bit longer. But it's selected, it's kind of yellow, it knows that it's going to move over to this code section. Let's say you want to talk about that. And then the last thing I want to do is zoom it back out again. So I will again do another custom one. So making it, and to do that, I'm going to come over here, and it's still selected. I undo the scale by taking it back to 0, and I move the piece of paper back over so that it's back on top of each other. And I can even take these if I want them to be closer, like right after each other. I can then move them if I want. You just can't have them on top of each other. So now I'm going to do it all together. So if I did this correctly, and keep your fingers crossed that I did, it should zoom in 200%. It should pan over to the left, and then zoom out and pan to the whole document. So let's see if I did it correctly. So now it's zooming in, and it should pan over to the left. It did it right. And then if I did it correctly, it should zoom to the middle and pan out. Yay, I did it right. Okay, so that's how I do the zoom and pan. So I'm last thing, and I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this because I'm using the headset that doesn't have the video built in, but one of the requirements for the document is that you include a short video of yourself either at the beginning or the end, and here's how I would recommend doing it. Scrolling all the way to the end of the document, bear with me, and you can make this tighter if you want, and taking the playhead and putting it at the end so that it's that when you record this video that it's not up of any other video. So then you're going to come over here, and you're going to click on record again, and when it comes up you're going to turn the camera on. I don't have my camera turned on, so I won't be able to do it. It's going to say that, you know, it's disabled, but imagine that's turned on. And then you click on record, and you start recording. It's going to count down, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's going to start recording. It's going to start recording, and you record either a welcome or, hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to look at stage one. You know, blah blah blah. You know, thank them or welcome them. You know, whatever you do. So you click on stop, and it adds this. When I pull up Camtasia, it's going to add it right up here. Now you're not seeing it because I don't have a video, but you're going to drag it down here and it would have the video. Now what you want to do is, this would be the video right here. You want to delete the background. Bear with me, delete the background, and you would have the video left right here, and then you will resize the video it will be a small little video that will be right there, and then you're going to resize it in the center and make it as big or as little as you want. If it's an intro, you're going to drag this to the beginning of the video. If it's a thank you, you leave it at the end, and you're all done. And you click on, you guys should remember how to do this from EDT 8110. You click on share, and then you're going to go to YouTube, and you're going to do all the things you did in YouTube. You give it a name, a description, please tags EDT 8120, Wright State University, IDL, IDDL, and then make it public. A couple of you guys did not make it public, and I couldn't see it. You are not required to do captions for this, so don't worry about that, and then click on finish it. It will render, it will go to YouTube, and then it'll take a few minutes, and don't forget when it opens up in YouTube, you have to click on refresh, otherwise it'll look like it wasn't published. So you have to keep either hitting enter after the URL or F5 to refresh it. And that's it. That's the demo. So I'm done with today, and I'll be flying out on Sunday, but I'll see you guys next week. I hope you have a great week, and if you have questions, email me, but try to figure them out yourself because I don't know how much I'll be able to get to the computer. But that's it. Thanks, guys. See you later. And I'm going to get over here, bear with me, and let me get my recording up to, forgive me, I have to get my recording up, and I will go ahead and stop it. I got about 10 million screens open right now, but that's it. Thanks. Bye.